In the near future, the Umbrella Corporation has become a powerful tech giant, commercial entity, and weapon manufacturer. In one of its high-tech laboratories, a lone figure extracts a package of delicate vials. Before leaving, he shatters one of them, and as a result, the liquid substance becomes airborne. The lab is part of a much larger complex with thousands of employees. The AI security system immediately recognizes the contamination, then promptly initiates a comprehensive quarantine. The substance quickly spreads through the building's ventilation, killing almost everyone. The groups, isolated from the contaminated air, are finished off by the AI. Meanwhile, with a pounding headache and no memory of who she is, Alice wakes up, naked in the bathtub. The only thing she can recall is losing consciousness. After taking a moment to assess her surroundings, her eyes fall on a romantic note. Displaying some quick thinking, she immediately compares her handwriting to it. Following that, she checks the nearest drawers and discovers a kit of automatic weapons. Alice proceeds to study the giant house further, eventually finding a picture of her wedding, piecing together some of her identity. Suddenly, she gets grabbed from behind, but in a split second, a grenade pops and a squad of black-clad gunmen burst through the windows. The man who approached her pulls out a gun and gets immobilized while pleading he is a cop. The leader of the group menacingly approaches Alice and asks repeatedly for her report, but she is clueless to what he is asking. One of the soldiers suggests that she is still experiencing the side effects, and the squad secure both before entering a hidden passage that leads to a train wagon located beneath the mansion. With the help of their engineer, Kaplan, they manage to get the engine working and immediately take off. When searching sealed compartments in the train, the group comes across another individual who is also suffering from memory loss and that she recognizes as her husband. Moments later, the wagon reaches its target location, and the group cautiously and methodically push forward. At some point, Alice can no longer tolerate the confusion and demands answers. The leader proceeds to explain that she and her husband, Spence, are undercover operatives employed by the Umbrella Corporation to safeguard the entrance of a highly classified subterranean research facility known as the Hive. He also notes the group's primary objective, the AI system, Red Queen, who they perceive as homicidal and responsible for everyone's death in the building. After encountering a flooded laboratory, the team stops briefly while their specialists devise an alternate route. As they depart, a corpse in one of the flooded rooms ominously wakes up. To mitigate any potential risks to the mission, the leader decides to split the group, leaving 2 soldiers behind to keep an eye on the officer. Afterward, Alice finds a terrible monstrosity being hatched. The leader notices and redirects her attention to the goal at hand. Soon after, they reach the last corridor that separates them from the operating system and contend with the sophisticated defense mechanisms of the AI. The team's engineer attempts to troubleshoot the system, but the AI has a final line of defense that proves deadly, resulting in the loss of several members, including their leader. Despite his athleticism and composure, Alice and Kaplan finally reach the Red Queen. Regardless of her pleas for mercy and attempts to warn them of the impending apocalypse, they shut her down with a powerful electrical surge. Moments later, all doors in the facility that was still under quarantine unlock. Meanwhile, the soldiers that were left to guard the officer become alerted to metallic sounds coming from an area nearby, and Rain goes to check. She then quickly finds the source of the disturbance, a woman in doctor's robe, who is not responding to her calls and attacks immediately when approached, biting her hand and surviving several shots to the body. The cop points out that her blood is coagulated, implying that the attacker was not a survivor, but rather a walking dead. Alice and Kaplan have since rejoined the group, bringing the unsettling news of their squad's demise. All are on edge, trying to make sense of the situation, but their thoughts are interrupted by the sound of metal clanging once again. However, this time, it's a horde of zombies that quickly surrounds them and a firefight erupts. Between the chaos, a power generator explodes, causing Alice to regain some of her memories and giving the group an opening. Desperately, they attempt to escape through the elevators, but turns out they are also packed with the undead. One of the remaining soldiers gets caught and eaten alive. Trying to save him, Rain gets bitten for a second and a third time. Despite the dire circumstances, most of the squad manages to make its way back to the Red Queen server room, where they regroup and try to collect themselves. Meanwhile, Alice, separated, is exploring one of the adjacent halls when she notices dog cages ripped apart. Following that, an undead Doberman slowly appears on the other side of the room. Panicking, Alice tries to run, but gets cornered even worse, this time by a full pack of zombie dogs. Then, they launch their attack, but her combat instincts kick in, killing most of them in seconds. After running out of bullets, she seamlessly switches to hand-to-hand combat, the realization of what she is capable of dawning. A few minutes later, the cop, who is searching for his sister, that was working in one of the corporation's offices, finds her station, and soon after, herself, now turned into a zombie. Shocked, he almost gets killed, but Alice saves his life at the last moment. He then goes on to confess his distaste and resentment towards the corporation that plays God, and Alice seems to share his perspective. The duo rejoins with the team that is still deciding on their next move. Their main problem, other than the horde of undead, a bomb timer they set to destroy the entrance doors. Eventually, Alice takes the initiative and reboots the Red Queen, thinking she may have a way to help them. After coming back online, the AI system confirms the monsters being reanimated dead, notes that the D virus has undergone genetic mutations, and points them to the direction of the utility tunnels. However, they are quickly discovered and swarmed once again. Kaplan becomes infected and is separated from the rest, while Rain's mental state rapidly deteriorates after being bitten multiple times again. At the same time, Alice showcases her exceptional combat abilities, while the remaining members of the group barely manage to survive by climbing onto the pipes above the ravenous horde. Following that, Alice, Spence, Rain, and the cop emerge through a utility hole back to the main building. Triggered by the familiar environment, Alice finally regains a huge part of her memories, including information that there is supposed to be a cure for the virus in the lab they are currently. In concert, her husband also recovers, but in his case, the realization comes that he consciously caused the outbreak, mostly as retaliation to Alice trying to destroy the corporation. He then immediately goes for the pistol, holding the team at gunpoint. However, a zombie emerges from behind and bites him in the neck. Desperate to save himself, he locks the group inside and runs off to the location that they found him, where the cure vials are also located. But it turns out the aforementioned hatching monstrosity has been freed as well. The monster descends upon him, consuming and transforming horrifically. The group, still trapped, eventually gets cornered by the monster. But Kaplan, defying all odds, comes to the rescue, and the four of them make it back to the wagon in time. Alice retrieves the remaining vials from the zombified corpse of Spence, dispatching him with no regrets and a swift blow. As the team set off in their escape, Kaplan and Rain receive their vital doses of the cure. A few minutes later, while Rain struggles to maintain her sense of self, the monstrosity catches up with them, immediately disposing of Kaplan. To make matters worse, Rain finally turns, the cure proving ineffective due to the extent of her infection. After a chaotic scuffle, the duo successfully ensnare the creature under the wagon's wheels and ultimately execute Train. Battered and fatigued, they reach the surface, but the Umbrella Corporation had been waiting for them. They get seized, sedated, and experimented on for an unspecified amount of time. Alice eventually regains consciousness, only to discover that humanity is on the brink of extinction.